Hey guys, Eric and Roth here to talk about the Leftovers Season 1 finale. I know this has been kind of a polarizing show, not for everyone. I've been all in though, and I love the finale. What did you think, Roth?
I love the finale too. Hopeful note by Leftovers standards. Very hopeful.
Yeah, full spoilers, we're about to commence here.
Yeah, commence spoilers.
Yes.
I will say that I had my concerns about the series the first 2 or 3 episodes. I just felt like, wow, this is feeling like a really similar note over and over and over again. And that was kind of my concern. I'm like, that's not how life functions, you know? So I now love it. It's really grown on me. I thought episode 9, which was a big flashback episode, was perhaps the best episode of the season, but it was because it was totally earned by everything that came before it. And then the finale, I thought, what are they going to do with the finale? Like, how are they going to top that? But they did.
Yeah, you know, I've been loving the show.
I haven't read the book, I should say.
Yeah, same here. I've been really into the show since the beginning, and even though it was one of the more like, oh my god, nothing is going right, miserable episodes, I did love the third one about Matt, and then the one that was kind of the Nora-centric one where she went to New York. So I've been very involved in the show, but I did think those last 2 were particularly great, and the finale was my favorite, just because you're totally right about the 9th kind of having earned that, and then the 10th, because as you said, there was some hope. And the thing about this show is, keep laughing how it's a show about beautiful misery, and it's just the most, just all in on misery show there is on TV. Yeah. But the finale, like, it was super dramatic, as the show is, super emotional. But at the end, there was a silver lining. It wasn't, all bleak. There's no hope, and that was nice.
I think that what worked for me in these last 2 episodes was that, the emotional payoff again was earned, but and was very there. Like I those small moments in the flashback of seeing what it would be actually like, just even for Jill to be holding someone's hand and then just have them be gone. I think the before and after of that really helped me, because I'll be honest, I mean, there was a part of me that, like, of course this would freak you out, of course it would change the world, but there was a part of me that was like, it's changing it a lot, you know what I mean? Like, they're really freaking out here for people who possibly hadn't lost anyone, like this family. And I couldn't wrap my mind around why they were reacting this way. And then when I saw that episode, suddenly I understood exactly why they were reacting this way. They had a lot of problems going into it.
Yeah.
But B, to actually see your baby in your womb and then watch it disappear would mess anybody up, you know? And I think that whatever was latently there inside of her just was unleashed by this event, in terms of, I think she was holding back some depression and holding back some hopelessness, and it just came all out because of the event. And then that sort of tension began to build as other people tried to suppress what had happened, and it did just explode in that finale. Yeah,
I mean, it really when Kevin and Matt come back into town, and it's basically a riot and everything's on fire. It's a real jolt to the system, as it's supposed to be, both for them as characters and us as viewers, because we saw it begin, and I want to go back to that in a second, but then just to have gotten to this point. And we do understand why we get to this point. Yeah. And also it was important, is understanding that, we don't hear Kevin say what his wish is. It's not hard to guess that it's some form of getting his family back together or repairing his family. And so, that when those moments happen, because I'll say I think the weakest character of the main characters has been Tommy. He's not on camera as much. I don't think he's as defined as much. But it still meant something when he pulls up there at the end, when Laurie's standing there and he pulls up, and just to get those moments with these family members, the flashback had helped a lot the week before, because we'd seen them as a family unit. To see that, it really worked.
I thought that really helped Tommy too, because he wasn't even in that very much, but he was so light.
Yeah.
And you could tell he was just such a light, funny, loving person, and Jill was such a dork, which I loved, and she pulled it off beautifully.
Yes, she did.
That how damaged those two had been by what happened, A, to the world, and B, to their families, was again a great payoff. But I mean, you do understand why. I think that if you hadn't had Nora's reaction to seeing her family, which was that silent howl of pain, I would understand getting a gun in that moment and going after the people that had caused me that much pain.
Oh yeah.
She didn't.
But other people did. Yeah, and you understood that.
And you understood why. But you also, even though they're crazy, because of the flashback and because of what crazy Patty had to say, about this is the only thing we think about, what else is there to think about, I oddly, for the first time, sort of understood the guilty remnant.
Mm-hmm. What they did, though, was so horrible. And I thought the show did such a good job of, they didn't try to keep it a secret. It was pretty much clear what they were going to do. We saw them getting the bodies. We saw them putting the clothes out. You could put two and two together. They weren't trying to keep that from you. But that then gave it even worse. Like when Nora's, getting brushing her teeth and all, and knowing what's waiting for her downstairs.
Yeah.
It felt like a horror movie, I just was like, oh man, don't go downstairs. That's horrible. And I have to praise, the cast in general is so great, but Carrie Coon has been the discovery. I know she's not a discovery, she's a Tony nominated actress, but for film and TV, This is kind of her big deal. So great. And the fact that they pulled the audio on that moment and yet she could completely sell it, 100%, you didn't need the audio, is really a testament to her.
That was possibly of a really emotionally wrenching episode the most, that silent howl. But what was great, I thought, beautifully done in terms of the direction, was that they made her silent, and for the first time, Laurie screamed Jill, because this was the only thing, the threat of her daughter really going to die, because of her, by the way, because of her stupid actions.
Yeah.
Was what was maybe going to bring her a little bit back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really all came together, and it really reminded me how much, or reinforced how much I cared about these characters at the end. I was so upset when I thought Nora was going to kill herself. Clearly you think she's writing a suicide note briefly. Then you're like, oh, she's leaving town. And then at the end, and instead it's this completely different thing happens. But I was like, no, I don't want you to kill yourself. And even, Jill, it's a testament to the show, because people complain about, the whiny teenager character. But when I was like, Kevin, you get in there and you save her, it was like when she screams Jill and he runs into that fire, it was like, I so wanted him to save her, and so was, so desperately worried that he wouldn't. And that's a testament to the show. And I think how it's just, personally, I know it's just grabbed me emotionally. I'm just totally invested.
I felt like I wanted him to save her, not just because I wanted Jill to be saved.
Right.
I did, but really because I understood what it would do to Laurie and Kevin.
Oh yeah, it meant a lot to everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. If she died, I was like, they're never going to recover ever. Mm-hmm. If Jill dies in this fire, that's Laurie's fault. This family's destroyed forever, all of them. And so, yeah, I felt equally invested. I think the other thing that's really cool about the show is that it's not really telling you at all, not just what the event is, but it is presenting sort of moral questions about these people. Are they left behind because they're not good people, as his father sort of said to him? They just seem like people to me. They don't seem like necessarily bad or good or whatever.
No.
But it kind of raises interesting questions about that. Is your intent? I always thought he wished that he'd be a good man. That's almost what I thought that he wished.
And it could be a version of that too, because he thinks that. I think it kind of is all wrapped together, because by being a better man, he'll kind of repair his life and his family sort of by connection to that. You know?
Where do you think it's going to go next season, though? That's because this felt like the period and the end of the sentence.
Yeah, and they didn't know if they were going to be renewed when they made this finale, and I think that's good that they did an ending that worked as an ending if it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, what are the remnants of the guilty remnant is a question. Meg had become much more militant by the end. It was like she was the militant one and Laurie was the one who spoke, at the end. So I'm curious what will happen with Meg next and where that goes. But yeah, I don't know. And then of course Laurie and Tommy are reunited, but they're not reunited with the rest of the family. So I think there will be sort of that splitting off.
Well, and then there's now the baby, and is she gonna? I mean, pieces of me feel really good about this as an ending. Mm-hmm. And my concern for next season would be that it would just start to fall apart under its own weight. But I hope that it will just continue to kind of explore these questions without belaboring certain points. I hope they don't keep the family. It would be interesting to watch this family try and rebuild themselves in a realistic way. Yeah,
I'm very curious too. I'm a little nervous, but mostly curious, and I'm very excited to get to see more and to hear that music playing whenever things get really intense. It's amazing music. Let us know what you thought of the Leftovers season finale. What do you think is going to happen in season 2? We'll have plenty more on that show and a lot more TV here at IGN. Thanks.